Welcome to the stimulus, and also, thanks for your cooperation. Once again, thank you to Cabrera and Creative Squirrels for putting together my super awesome title card. It's amazing! Loki is Iron Man, which when you say it out loud, is actually kind of weird to say, but oh my gosh, it's awesome! So that is why I am sporting the best Black Widow cosplay that I could pull together with what I had around the house. We're going for the helicarrier look and no wig, but it's kind of Black Widow-y, right? Close enough? Anyway, like I said, welcome back to the Stimulus. I'm Steph, and here's what happened this week in STEM. First up, I want to wish a very happy birthday to the Hubble Space Telescope that turned 25 this week. Oh my god, we're like the same age. Isn't that amazing? Over its 25-year lifespan, Hubble has given us some of the most breathtaking images of the universe that we have ever seen. However, our first story of the week deals with something that Hubble, or anyone else, didn't see. Astronomers have discovered a massive blob of nothingness that measures about 1.8 billion with a B light years across. Researchers started studying this patch of sky about 10 years ago when they first noticed that there was a cold spot bigger than anything that they usually saw. Now the latest study, led by Istvan Sazputi, I'm so sorry I messed it up, here's the spelling, and the University of Hawaii at Manoa, looked to try and find an explanation behind this monster cold spot. What their astronomical survey actually revealed was the largest individual structure ever identified by humanity. A patch of the universe where an estimated 10,000 galaxies should exist, but don't. According to researcher Andres Kovacs, supervoids aren't totally empty, they're just super underdense. This is unusual because the universe is typically fairly uniformly distributed. A supervoid like the one described can partially account for the temperature drop seen in the cold spot. Now, to give you an idea of how this works, imagine walking up a really steep hill and then running down the backside. As you walk up a really steep hill, your kinetic energy becomes potential. And then, once you reach the crest and tip back over and start on your way down, the potential energy turns back into kinetic as you gain speed. You can typically feel this on a really steep hill when the gravity starts to carry you and you just kind of want to break into a jog to get to the bottom. This analogy applies to when light is passing through the void. Now, it's important to remember that while yes, light moves incredibly quickly, this void is 1.8 billion light years across. A light year is the distance that light travels in a year, so that distance is almost unfathomable. So light entering this void and exiting the void is far from instantaneous. Now, as a light particle or photon enters the void and starts traveling towards the center, it loses its kinetic energy and starts to gain potential, much like when you're walking up the steep hill. Now, in a perfectly stationary universe, you would expect the photon to regain the same amount of kinetic energy that it lost on the way in as it exits the void. However, we don't live in a perfectly stationary universe. In fact, our universe has been expanding at a constantly accelerating rate. So, instead of having a symmetrical hill that's just as steep on the downhill as it is on the uphill, you have a hill that's very steep on the uphill and then not as steep on the downhill, so you don't regain as much kinetic energy when you're running down the backside. The same can be said for the photon, which doesn't regain as much kinetic energy, so it has a longer wavelength and is cooler when it exits the void. Thus, the cold spot. Since this explanation ties in with the expansion of the universe, it also serves as independent evidence for the existence of dark matter, which is linked to the expansion of the universe. While this is all really cool stuff, the supervoid actually probably creates more questions than it answers. For example, how does something like this even form? Additionally, the supervoid can only account for about 10% of the temperature drop in the cold spot, so what happens to the other 90%? My favorite blanket term that I came across while reading this is exotic physics, which is basically talking about things that we don't quite understand yet based on our limited knowledge of physics. I think I'm going to use that as an explanation for anything people don't understand about me. Stephanie, why can't you find Brad Pitt even mildly attractive? Exotic physics. Stephanie, why can't you have just one can of Dr. Pepper a day? Exotic physics. Okay, so maybe it's not applicable across all life situations. So despite there being lots of new unanswered questions, scientists are still really psyched about this discovery.
According to Kovacs, this is the greatest supervoid ever discovered. In combination of size and emptiness, our supervoid is still a very rare event. We can only expect a few supervoids this big in the observable universe.
Moving on to news that brings back all sorts of nostalgia feels from my childhood. Brian Kubicki, the founder of the Costa Rican Amphibian Research Center, has discovered a doppelganger for one of the Muppets. And in case you can figure out by the amphibian part of that research center, it's Kermit the Frog. Thank God I wasn't an animal. That would have been terrifying. This little guy is a new species of glass frog, which gets its name from its translucent abdomen. The scientists have no explanation as to why these frogs have transparent abdomens, but I'm willing to bet it's to keep 8th graders from having to dissect them. Look, you don't have to dissect me. You can see all of my internal organs right here. See? Yeah, look, there's my heart and my lungs. Yeah! With this little guy added to the list, there's now 121 total species of glass frog, but this guy was a big deal because he was the first new glass frog to be discovered since 1973. Glass frogs are typically 2 to 3 centimeters long, and they live in the tree canopies of the rainforest by streams and creeks, only coming out of the trees to mate. The new little guy's name is Hylenebatrachium Dianae, or Diane's bare-hearted glass frog, and is named after Kavicki's mother. The main distinguishing factors for this frog are the eyes, the skin, and a very unique call. Their call sounds like a whistle, so it's thought that their call was frequently mistaken for an insect, which could be one of the reasons that this guy was missed for so long. Now, like I said before, these guys inhabit the rainforest, so deforestation is a big problem for them right now. Additionally, there's a deadly skin fungus that's caused some species of glass frogs to all but disappear. I really hope this isn't the last that we've seen of this little guy, but if it is, I'm sure Miss Piggy will find a way to move on and find love again. How could you not love Tom Hiddleston? I'm sorry. Our next story involves news that sounds something like a prequel to yet another Jurassic Park film. Earlier this week, a Chinese construction crew in Haewon City had to halt their work on account of fossilized dinosaur eggs. Now, this isn't the first time a discovery like this has been made in Haewon City. In fact, it happens so frequently that the city is nicknamed home of the dinosaurs. And in 2004, they were awarded a Guinness World Record for having the largest collection of dinosaur eggs on display. The first discovery in the area was made in 1996 by a group of kids playing at a construction site. Best show and tell ever. Since then, nearly 17,000 eggs have been found in the area. In addition to eggs, they found 11 fossilized skeletons and almost 200 fossilized footprints. Most of the eggs found in the area are between 65 and 89 million years old, and they either belong to oviraptorids or duck-billed dinosaurs. So what exactly made this spot appealing for dinosaurs to drop their eggs? Scientists guess that the secret's in the dirt. Nearly all of the eggs found in the area have been discovered in the rock strata of red sandstone, and the latest discovery is no exception. The latest batch consisted of 43 eggs, with the largest one measuring around 5 inches in diameter. And the most exciting piece of news for me is 19 of these were intact. Look like something familiar? In the coming weeks, the researchers will try and figure out what kind of dinosaur eggs these are. While that's going on, I think it's time I travel to China and take my rightful place as mother of dinosaurs. A queen. No, not a queen. A khaleesi. I wonder how you say mother of dinosaurs in Valyrian. Our final story of the week is kind of a follow-up on one of my very first TWISTEM stories dealing with 3 parent babies in the UK, and you can check it out here. Now, while the use of mitochondrial DNA manipulation in the United Kingdom had been approved, nobody had actually tried it out yet on a human embryo. Until now. According to an article published this week in Protein and Cell, a group of Chinese researchers have edited the genes of a human embryo for the first time ever. Using the enzyme CRISPR-Cas9, which sounds and looks like a really weird cereal name, scientists were able to do what is called a double-strand break, which is basically severing both sides of the double helix structure of DNA at a specific point. This enables them to modify the DNA. This study was performed with 86 non-viable embryos, meaning that they would never ever become fetuses. The researchers targeted the gene that's responsible for a genetic condition called beta thalassemia, which affects the blood. Now, the results weren't exactly promising. After injecting the 86 embryos with the modified DNA and waiting 2 days, scientists found that only 71 of the original sample had survived. Of the 71 remaining embryos, 54 were tested, and it was found that only 13% of the original 86 actually had the modified DNA. This is to be expected since this technique is way in its infancy, but it's going to have a hard time going much further. This study has opened a monster ethical can of worms that scientists and the public are debating over. The biggest argument for this technique is the possibility to eliminate potentially life-threatening genetic diseases. However, to go against that pro, there's also a lot of cons. An embryo technically can't give consent to be modified, which brings in the whole when does life actually start argument. And a lot of religious organizations have a problem with it because they feel like scientists are playing God. Now, before everybody jumps on the I hate religion bandwagon, there are also some scientific reasons to be wary of this. A lot of scientists are worried about unforeseen side effects, which may not be observed until many years into the human's development. Either way, the Chinese are kind of moving forward on their own, hoping to perfect the technique. So now I open the floor to you guys. What do you think about this practice? Do the pros outweigh the cons, or do the Chinese have an ethical leg to stand on? Let me know down in the comments down below. So that's it for this week, guys. Don't forget, if you're really into STEM stuff, feel free to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Also, if you find any really cool STEM news stories throughout the week, feel free to tweet them at me at @StephEz43 on Twitter using the hashtag TWISTEM, and they might wind up in next week's episode. If you want to check me out on any of my other social media, I will include links to that in the description down below. Also, I highly recommend you go check out Rob Cabrera of Creative Squirrels. I will include links to his stuff down below. Go check him out. He's the guy that does the wonderful, wonderful artwork that you see at the beginning of every one of my videos. So thank you so much, Rob. It's amazing. I can't tell you how appreciative I am. Rob and Creative Squirrels have also put together a super awesome website for me, and I will include that in the description also, so please go check that out. So that's it, guys. I'm gonna go crawl back into my hole and start counting down the minutes again until Avengers Age of Ultron next Friday. I'm so excited. Next time you see me, I will be recovering from fangirling so hard. So I will see you guys later. Bye. The lovely artist and Rob Cabrera. Blah, 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 blah. Stop barking, my phone banged the wall. Oh my god. It was me, it was my fault, I'm sorry. Now, despite there being lots of new unanswered questions, scientists are still pretty stoked about this discovery. I said stoked. Research Center has discovered a Muppet world. There's now I live in the treetop canopies. I have a bubble in my throat. I'm either gonna vomit or cough. Or burp. By streams and creeks. Streams and creeks, those are words. Streams and creeks. Say that, streams and creeks. The new little guy is named Hyalobatrachium Diane or Diane's bare-hearted bear-chet. I keep screwing up the second name, which is in English and supposed to be easy. Diane's bare-hearted glass frog. Got it. Great. This is the first discovery. I just made a word up. Totally. But duck-billed dinosaurs. Duck-billed dinosaurs. What kind of dinosaurs these is? Oh my god. English. Do you speak it? That sentence was just not going places. Black Widow out!